Hello guys, Mr. Music Fan here. How you guys doing? Welcome to my Coldplay discography review. Of course, I don't need to remind you guys who Coldplay are, but if you need a reminder, Coldplay are a alternative rock band from the UK. They've been possibly one of the most successful rock acts of the last decade, of the 2000s, and are quickly becoming as viable in the 2010s as they were the previous decade. And they have definitely have made a mark, already are making a mark on the world of music, and not just only of rock music but also of music in general. And they are positively one of my personal favorite bands ever. And so let's start off this Coldplay discography review with a review of this record, Parachutes, released in 2000. This album, their first album ever, is possibly one of my personal favorite debut albums ever. It is probably one of the most awesome debut albums I have heard from a British band thus far. And sorry, my screen's dirty. This album is very warm. This album sound is very atmospherically warm. It's such an easy thing to listen to, and what really I really love about this album is just the sense of intimacy with this album. This album presents such a acoustically melodic, almost like an array of post Britpop, acoustic folk, piano-driven ballads in some sense, but although not as extreme as the other albums from them. But it just has heart and soul behind it. Without this is Parachutes kind of pre X and Y, pre Viva La Vida kind of sound. It almost borderlines on easy listening in most cases. Like if you listen to easy listening music, it's very soft, it's very mellow. It's the type of music that really puts you at complete ease, as opposed to other much more harder rock songs, which tends to get you amped and get you pumped up, and both of which are fine in my opinion. But what makes this album so special for me, music-wise, is just how melodious and how melodic and how heartfelt all these songs are. Despite the fact that they come from a very timid place, Chris Martin, around this time, not being much of a confident singer at this point, as he will be in future albums, but a lot of these songs, like Don't Panic, Spies, Trouble, another one, High Speed, We Never Change, those songs really present a lot of heart. This album has a lot of musical heart behind it, and Chris Martin's lyrics too has definitely a lot of heart and a lot of character, even though he really doesn't have the vocal confidence to kind of display his vocal ability very very externally by this point, than as he will present himself with future albums, which by then he'll gain a complete total mastery and a complete total confidence in his vocal performance and his vocal prowess, But here, even though there's a tendency of like holding back, a tendency of reservation with these songs, they really have a character of just this childish naivety, but not in the very goofy sense of the word. Childish naivety in the sense of it has a big sense of sensitivity. This album, musically and lyrically, is completely sensitive, and that's really a special thing when you consider the year 2000, the year where music completely changed, the year when Limp Bizkit, Korn, nu metal was big in this time, and this album especially stood out. They really made Coldplay stand out of the whole entire pack of other artists, pop singers, pop divas at this point, Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, and the like, Jessica Simpson. And it's really special, I have to say. Like, cause this album, musically speaking, this album borrows a lot of influence from Britpop. Mainly, this album has a Radiohead influence to it, like the Ben's OK Computer Radiohead, and but the thing of what makes this album completely different, in my opinion, completely different from the other alternative acts at this point is like I said before, complete warm sensitivity of all these songs. Lyrically, musically, they have a different dynamic going along with them. This for sure this album also placed Coldplay in a really unique but awkward position of being this really softly driven rock band in an era where of course new metal and a lot of this aggressive rock was all the rage. Not to excuse the pun. There was a lot of that uniqueness that stood out in this slew of new metal angst, this new metal anger going on around them, and it definitely placed Coldplay on a big, unique spot of being a very unique band, and Chris Martin being a very unique person, a unique artist in his own right. And a lot of these songs are just phenomenal, I have to say. I love all these songs. Yellow, which was the first single, was released from this album, became a hit from this album. Trouble 2 also became another hit. I am not sure what other hit are from these. Those are the other two songs that I know of, because they created music videos for both Yellow and Trouble. And I know definitely as a person myself growing up during the MTV2 era at that point when they did show music videos, I saw these guys a lot. I saw these guys, like having a lot of buzz created around them. Like, this album really generated a lot of huge acclaim and huge, buzz surrounding Coldplay at this point. And this album really makes a testament to that. And I think also part of the reason why this album was so successful is that you have to think this year was also the year of the release of Radiohead's Kid A, a very challenging and very experimental ambient electronic album that also borrows a lot of influence, but not of the Britpop rock vein by any stretch of the imagination. So I think in most cases when Radiohead was kind of poised to be this Coldplay-ish like group, and once Radiohead kind of chose to abandon that mantle, Coldplay kind of took over that for them. Coldplay, even though they didn't have any intention of doing that, Coldplay really took these different influences from like Radiohead, Coldplay, Radiohead, Oasis, Blur, Pulp, a lot of these different British bands, and they kind of put a lot of these other different influences like Elton John, Jeff Buckley especially. You get a Jeff Buckley influence on songs like Parachutes, Trouble, Spies, Shiver. You definitely get a lot of these in these songs. And the other unique thing about this, before I shortly end this review, is that these there's not really a rock hard bottom to these songs. A lot of these songs kind of are very floaty. They're very whimsical. They rely more on the atmosphere of the mood of these songs, and as opposed to just raging distorted guitars. Really, the only rocking songs on here are Yellow and Shiver, but a lot of these other songs have more of a dreamy, floaty quality to them. But Coldplay did it in such a way that it really didn't come out as gimmicky. It really came out to be something completely unique, and something that really made Coldplay different. It made them stand out of this whole crowd of new metal rock and angst-like rock that was going on around this period. And this album is definitely one of my favorites. As far as where do I place them in my Coldplay album thing, I mean my top 5 or whatever, I really can't decide that because I really don't know if this ranks high, but it's still definitely one of my favorites, personal favorites. Really, I love a lot of the songs off here. Sparks, I love. Trouble, I love. High Speed, I also love as well. Everything's Not Lost, a really satisfying closer to this album. So, what do I rate Parachutes, Coldplay's first album? I would put Parachutes between a 1 and a 5. I would put this album as a... what the heck. I'll put this as a straight 5. I love this album. I really, really do love this album. You know, like, for reasons I've said before, it's just so sensitively warm. It's so sincere. It's so intimate. You know, it really... This album is just really warm and inviting, and it's so intimate to hear Chris Martin, even though he doesn't have the confidence to kind of like display his vocal at this point. You know, he's a little more timid than that at this point. Definitely by the next record, he'll definitely externalize a confidence that is not present on this record, but he doesn't detract this record by any means. So yeah, I definitely give this album a straight 5. This is a fantastic album, a fantastic record, and is definitely one that really defined the times of the year 2000. So yeah, that's my review of this wonderful album, Parachutes by Coldplay. Leave your comments on the comment section below. Tell me what you think about Parachutes. And is it your favorite Coldplay album ever? Is it not your favorite Coldplay album ever? Why or why not? And that's it for me. See you guys later with the next Coldplay album. Take care, guys. Mr. Music Fan. Bye-bye.